It is just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Axel Klarmeyer, CEO of BEGO, all the way from Germany, and Amir Mansouri, BS, MS, PhD, co-founder and CEO of SprintRay, all the way from Los Angeles. I'll introduce Axel first. Axel Klarmeyer is the CEO at BEGO Dental and has a long-standing success story at the company. A leading dental device manufacturer with more than 130 years of tradition and dental experience, offer conventional as well as digital solutions. Axel joined the BEGO team in the year of 95 as a junior salesman for the classical dental portfolio. In 2002, he became the head of sales management of the newly founded BEGO Medical, providing CAD/CAM solutions to dental labs. After 5 years, he was offered the position of managing director sales at BEGO Medical. In a span of a few years, he took over the same position at BEGO Dental in 2012. Since the beginning of 2019, he bears the overall operational responsibility for BEGO Dental. His heart beats for the topics of 3D printing and agile working. Founded in 1990, they are successfully developing and manufacturing modern implant systems, the accompanying implant prosthetics, as well as the BEGO material system. The company's key objective is to apply the BEGO system concept to cutting-edge implant technology and thus supply the market with highly efficient systems that can be conveniently used for all indications. The implant systems and prosthetics are suitable both for those who are new to implantology and for the experienced practitioner who prefers cost-effective products made in Germany for their patients. Today, dental implants made by BEGO epitomize top German technology at a fair price, delivering a perfect combination of safety, durability, aesthetics, and reliability. And then next up is Amir Mansouri, BS, MS, PhD. He needs at least one more degree. Is the CEO and co-founder of SprintRay, a leader in providing 3D printing and digital solutions to the dental industry. Amir is an inspiring and charismatic leader with a unique blend of scientific and entrepreneurial skills. Under his leadership, SprintRay grew from a proof-of-concept business plan to a multinational digital dentistry company. Amir received his bachelor's in mechanical engineering from Iran University of Science and Technology, his master's degree and PhD in the field of additive manufacture from the University of Southern California. His PhD thesis included NASA-funded research to enable 3D printing of lunar and Mars structures. At work, Amir spends his time planning, strategizing, and executing SprintRay's product and commercial development growth. Outside of work, he likes playing Spanish guitar and traveling with his wife, Ile, and his new Japanese Akita puppy named Tokyo. Dr. Mansouri has served as a speaker, moderator, and keynote speaker for several industry conferences and summits. In addition, he gives back to his alma mater at USC by participating frequently in guest lectures and mentoring students at the Viterbi School of Engineering. My gosh, this is going to be so amazing. And again, this is not a commercial that no one pays to get on the show. I called them, they didn't call me. Here's why I called them up and asked them on the show. SprintRay, which is and BEGO, announced partnership bringing 3D definitive restorations to dentistry. SprintRay Inc. and BEGO are thrilled to announce a materials integration partnership that will allow for the use of BEGO's industry-leading FDA-approved material for final and temporary dental restorations with SprintRay Pro line of dental 3D printers. My gosh, now, this is going to be an awesome show, but Amir, are you a little intimidated that you're with two gorgeous bald guys and you still got that young, hairy stuff growing on your head that hasn't fallen out yet?
Not at all. And thank you, Howard, for inviting us to your show. We've been following it. Absolutely. You're an icon in this industry, and pleasure to be here.
Well, we'll just put Axel's face on the YouTube, and then we'll just put yours on iPhone since you got that hair. We'll try to keep it hidden. Hey, all the dentists are asking me before we get into the show to always get a COVID-19 update, and we got Axel here all the way from Germany. Axel, what's the update on COVID there? Obviously, 2020 was a tough year. We were closed down here in Arizona for 2 months. That's 16% of the year. This year, right now, United States just passed 10% are vaccinated. Do you think 2021, by the end of the year, we'll get back to pre-COVID levels from where you see dentistry? I know BEGO has physical building. How many countries do you actually have physical buildings in?
Physical buildings, we have roughly eight or nine. Yes,
Yeah.
where we have physical buildings. And well, the COVID situation in Germany right now is that we behind our peak that we had in December. Actually, there was the highest infection rates that we had over here as well. Then we had a lockdown. The lockdown officially ends next week on Monday, but it is extended right now until mid of March. So that means that that doesn't belong to you and me, but hairdressers are open again. So,
all right.
at least one thing, but that's really, it's a tough situation, and it was tough in Germany as well, but in the European countries around us as well. And we had different situations as well over the globe. When you saw, we are working in 130 markets actually. So this is somewhere it always hit us. It began in China, of course. Then it was waving like a wave around the globe. Through Europe, then to the US, and then back to China again. And I think my expectation is that the higher level of vaccination we have and we are facing, the easier it gets to us to get back into normal, whatever normal means after that. So I think we will always be more careful than in the past, of course, but nevertheless. So it's I think 2021 is still one year that cannot be called normal. But I expect the next year after that, so 22 will be somewhere where we're fully operational again and can do whatever we wanted to do before COVID as well.
How are the dentists looking at from where you're sitting? I mean, are they down 10%, 20%? What does it look like macroeconomically?
It is overall something like a drop of 10 to 15% overall in Germany. And in other countries, it was a bit higher and a bit lower, but 15% is pretty reasonable, yeah.
So, your two companies working together, I look at the macroeconomics of dentistry, and the only two areas I see growing double-digit growth, it's just clear aligners and implants. And you guys decided to partner together. What made you come to that decision, and what was your plans?
Yeah, good question. I mean, should I start, Amir?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, okay, got it. I think like very much or many of those corporations, with us again, it started just in Chicago, like so many other things as well. When we met first in Chicago, our teams met and said, okay, they have a great printer, and we had some ideas about material as well. And then it pretty early turned out that SprintRay is really focusing on their focus, like hardware, processes, workflows, and we are pretty much concentrating our own on material. And even though both of the companies are pretty much different from the paper form, we have on the one side, we have a German company, 130 years old, founded in 1890. And then we have SprintRay, a very young company, very, very innovative company. And but we are working together. That's the sake of the time. So that's great in those times. And that brought us pretty much to the table. And the material that we develop in the meantime is something that is really appealing to others as well. And we know that we are not a printer company in terms of development and selling printers. We're just concentrating on ourselves on making our material available through printers like SprintRay. And so we came together.
We about a quarter of our viewers are still in dental kindergarten school, so they might not even know what BEGO and SprintRay do. Can you tell them what your company does and what your core competencies are?
Sure. Amir, you first.
Yeah, well, in dental 3D printing, Howard, overall dental 3D printing is an intersection of hardware, software, and material science. And SprintRay's core competency is hardware and software. And we learned a lot. We learned this along the way, that focus on one or two things that you do the best and partner up with the third one instead of trying to do everything by yourself. That was the spirit of us partnering up with BEGO, which has been an innovator and a leading material innovator in the dental industry. So that's why I see this a very winning formula to enable more appliances, procedures for the dental community, because those three interdisciplinary items come together.
All right. So Axel, not to ask too tough of a rude question to all that, but when I look at adoption rates, I didn't really see CAD/CAM getting adopted. It looks to me, the data I can see, that not only less than 12% of the dentists decide to go with chairside milling and manufacturing. In fact, data on big DSOs, like you take Heartland Dental, they have over 1,000 dental practices. A lot of them are acquisitions. They only have 35 out of 1,000 of their offices using the CIRAC machine. Whereas things like practice management software got 90% adoption, digital x-rays take off. So some technologies come out of the gate and it just domino effects across the industry, but chairside milling didn't seem to do that. Do you agree with that assessment? And does that affect your business model?
Well, sure. Well, we don't do chairside milling, and we never did actually. So we are into CAD/CAM business since the late 90s already, Howard, and our very youngest or our first 3D printing patents expired 2019, which means we started with it in 1999 in 3D printing. So what we did was pretty much we brought selective laser melting to dental. And these were our patents were based on. So we never really did milling. We never sold mills as well. When we talk about milling, what you actually do is, and what we see it as, it's a kind of a bridge technology. It cannot be really the final goal to be there in terms of we are producing 80% of garbage and 20% out of the pucks are just crowns and 80% just went to waste. That cannot be sustainable, and really we cannot be serious on that for the future. So we always counted on 3D printing, and we see the 3D printing potential very much higher than that as well. And right now we're pretty much in the base where it's an affordable technique already. When we started 3D printing, the machines had a cost of something like 200,000 euros and more. And right now we're in an area like SprintRay formats and others as well. So that's now it's affordable. It's a fast technique as well, and you can really use it chairside. When we say about chairside, we always have to define as well what we mean when we're talking about chairside. We defined it for our own internal reason. What is chairside? And we said, okay, chairside is when a patient comes into the dental office and is leaving the dental office with a permanent restoration, and this time span is 2 hours. Then we are talking about chairside. Everything else beyond these 2 hours is something like whatever, same-day dentistry or something else. So patient has to wait longer or has to come back in the evening, for example. If you talk about chairside, it's 2 hours. And there were no way right now for us with the conventional techniques to get everything in these 2 hours. But today we can. When it comes to 3D printing, that's really possible. And that is something that leads us together, and let us hope for the future that printing inside the practice, be it chairside through the dentist or be it chairside by lab, for example, with the support of the laboratory, is really possible and can serve patients within 2 hours chairside.
I like that. I like the fact and how you define it as 2 hours, because it's not saving you money if you take an appointment for a crown, which should be an hour to numb up, prep, temporize, and press. They leave with a temporary, and then they come back 2 weeks for a crown, as opposed to sitting there in a chair for 3 hours. I mean, that's a long time. But what I meant by the chairside milling is that manufacturing, milling, making something, printing. Do you think 3D printing is going to follow the CAD/CAM, where dentists, only about 12%, the high-tech people who like to do this stuff, are going to be manufacturing in their dental office? Or do you think printing will be different than CAD/CAM?
Amir.
Yeah, if I may add, you're 100% right with your assessment, Howard. The adoption was a lot slower than on CAD/CAM milling than what was anticipated. I see the reasons to be in two different categories. The first one is they're cost prohibitive solutions. It takes a good system, $100,000 to get it started. Every single crown would cost you $40, $50 to produce. It's not every dentist in every corner of this country can afford that much of upfront capital equipment expenditure. The second one has a 3D printing as a technologist. I always see milling technologies as a one-trick ponies. You can only do one thing with them, and it's very limited in terms of functionalities. So these two elements are completely different in 3D printing. That's why I see 3D printing a lot more transformational in dentistry than the milling was. The cost to start with $10,000, you can get it started. You can get with BEGO partnership, what we were very, very excited, Howard, was you can print a crown. I actually have it in front of me in 20 minutes and probably cost of $1. I don't know if you guys see it. $1 in material cost to 3D print a crown. How transformative this could be. The second piece is you get it started on crowns. Now you can do night guard chair side. You can do hybrid dentures. You can do models for aligners. You can do onlays and inlays. There's so many endless possibilities. And as we innovate together with BEGO, we push the applications forward. We come up with the new materials. The entire solution becomes future-proof for the doctors. So because of these reasons, I see the adoption of 3D printing goes a lot faster than what we saw in milling.
So what succinctly is the partnership? One's materials, one's printing technology. Is that what it is?
Yeah, and the interface is the workflow pretty much. So we try to introduce our material to the workflow as well. And we are in close contact about the workflows as well. So, but it's right for Howard. So we're going, we are the material company, and SprintRay is the hardware software company. And yeah, the connection between us is the workflow.
And you're calling it the Varseo Smile Crown and the Varseo Smile Temp? Right. Did I pronounce it right?
Yep.
Really? My gosh.
Yes.
Well, tell the people in marketing they really dumbed it down for us dumb people that can't say anything. So that is a and what exactly is the material in the Varseo Smile Crown versus the Varseo Smile Temporary?
We have it in different shades. We have different processes as well, and the material, the temp material, is available for bridges as well, and the permanent material is only available for crowns. And have it in more colors than that, and is a different process to work with as well. But the family is the same.
But what is the material, though?
It's a ceramic filled hybrid material. That's the official, how we call it officially. I don't want to get too much into details because it's pretty unique, the material. And but this is the way the case. So the secret behind it is everything that has to do with the physical mechanics. For example, we have this water solubility is really low, and all the other things as well. The clients that we work with are pretty much enthusiastic about aesthetics and fitting. These are the most two parts that are mentioned all the time: fitting and aesthetics, and they're all happy with that. I think Amir can really can confirm that.
Yeah, similar. The way we look at it is a composite of polymer and ceramics. Very similar. If it's more familiar to doctors, the composite that are being used in milk right now, very similar category. And now it's in the 3D printable form. And BEGO was the first company, I think, to have the innovating the hungriness and being the thirst for first. They came and said, it's possible, and let's do it. And we followed BEGO in that category, and we launched it 2 weeks ago. The response has been amazing. The ability to print crowns in 20 minutes at a fraction of cost before, so powerful with our doctors that we see posts in social media coming up. They're getting more innovative. We saw a doctor doing onlays with it immediately. So it's happening.
And
we hear it from different directions as well. We heard it from labs as well, for example. We have labs already, and it's pretty interesting what kind of business models are coming up right now. And we saw it from laboratories that are using their printer as an extended workbench inside the dental practices. which is pretty interesting as well. So the doctor is sending the file to the laboratory. The lab does the design and starting their printer that is not placed in their lab, but in the dental practice, and starting the print inside the dental practice. That's pretty interesting.
Is bite splints going to be one word or always two? Amir, do you know?
One word, I guess. I go with one word.
You go with one word for bite splints?
Yes.
Okay. Do you ever watch Shark Tank?
Yes.
Oh, good. So you know the smartest man in the room is always the bald guy, Mr. Wonderful. And he's always asked, he would sit there and say, and it's true on this podcast. I mean, obviously you'll see Axel and Howard are the two wise bald men in this room. But if you were on Shark Tank, Mr.
Right.
Wonderful would say, come on, Amir, there's all kinds. Why should I invest in your company? There's all kinds of competition. I got Formlabs and SprintRay. What is different than you with Formlabs? Do you have any IP? Why should I invest in you when when you have competition? What would you tell Mr. Wonderful, to go back to Canada and stay there?
Sure, yeah, Mr. Wonderful. I think they're good companies. All of them are competitors. They're very innovative in the market. The way we differentiate is our sense of purpose and sense of focus. We early on in our evolution, we had demands from across industries, from art and design to prototyping to engineering, and these are where applications of 3D printing are extended. This is how I would tell the story. None of the other competitors had they wanted to commit to dentistry, and only SprintRay decided to put a ring on it on dentistry and said, dentistry, we're focused on you, and we're going to only be allocating our resources to develop workflows, materials, software, hardware that are tailored to the needs of the dentist. And that's what makes us different, and that's what makes us unique in the dental industry.
Nice. And where are you most excited about? Is it going to be the crowns, the temporaries? Is it going to be bite splints? Is it going to be surgical guides? Where do you see this taking off first?
In 2020, it took off incredibly in the bite splints, actually. It's happening. I think this is an integral part of every practice that we work with, and they just bought it at the beginning to 3D print models, and now all of a sudden great material came through. We're doing a lot of night guards. I think that's already happening. This year, 2021, is the year of restoratives, and we see that as strongly. The doctors are telling us, our users are telling us that 3D printing more crowns and restorative as a complementary to their milling. We don't want to replace that. I think there are great milling solutions out there for unique application. This is a complementary solution next to them.
So,
yeah, that's right.
So, how long has this been available? How long have you been selling your SprintRay Pro 3D printer?
The Pro 3D printer is our third generation 3D printer. We launched it in early 2019, and we started the shipping toward the end of 2019. This is pretty much the second full year that we're shipping our Pro 95. And we just developed a Pro 55 3D printer, and the numbers are the resolutions, where the resolution is more tailored toward restorative applications. So we have two units, and we position one of them as a restorative, crowns, bridges, hybrid dentures, denture teeth. The other unit is more night guard, surgical guide, ortho applications has picked up probably the first in this dental 3D printing realm.
So, in my opinion, the reason clear aligners and implants are going the fastest is all the way back to the huge success of the American Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry, and that is all animals, their single goal is to survive long enough to reproduce and have offspring, and you want to be as pretty as a peacock to catch your life mate, to mix gametes and continue. And Invisalign, oh my gosh, that was the fastest national brand I've ever seen come out. When I came out of dental school, you already had Crest and Colgate and Listerine, and my gosh, I've lectured in Cambodia. 50 countries. I've been to 50 countries. You can't go to a single bar, and if you tell the waitress you're a dentist, the first thing out of her mouth is about Invisalign. So that is going to be huge. And plus, when I was little, my parents had 7 kids. The only person that got the braces was the one that could never attract a mate with their bite. They looked like they could eat corn on the cob through a chain link fence, and you had to fix up that one or send her to the nunnery. And implants, believe it or not, it's the same thing. They're not buying implants for form and function. They're doing all on 4s. They had poor home care. That's why they lost all their teeth, but they don't want it removable so they can clean it. It's not about health and aesthetics. They want it fixed. It's about their psyche, looking better. So the question is, which one's going to attract a mate better? Replacing missing teeth with implants or straighten them up with clear aligners? So over the next 10, 20 years, what do you think will be bigger? Your SprintRay printers for clear aligners? Or do you think it'll be surgical guides and the workflow for implant dentistry?
Axel, you want to go first or I go?
Well, it's pretty much, when it comes to the material question, I see different approaches to that as well. So, of course, I think the aligner business will grow as well. It started in the US, really. It's starting to lift up in Europe as well right now. So it's going to be amazing. I don't know whether you really compare it between the beauty and the medical indication of an implant, of course. So implants will always be there and will grow as well. Maybe in a different direction when it comes to ceramic implants or titanium implants, but the market is there and will be there in the future as well. But for cosmetic reasons, of course, the aligners will grow as well. And what we're working on the material side is pretty much we're focusing that today there's no material that you can print clear aligners right away. So there is no material that can print us. You can print the models for it, and then you go thermoplasting with the aligners over that as well. But you cannot print them right now. This is pretty much the next holy grail when it comes to material in 3D printing, and that's on our side as well. Of course, it's no secret that we're working on it, and this is pretty much the next big thing.
And what's the other holy grail? Do you
bridges?
What's that?
Bridges.
Oh, well, I mean, for me as a dentist, our holy grail that they've all been wanting forever was a reversible cement. You cement a crown, and everybody has these fantasies that someday you can put some energy beam on it, or you could do something to it and make it go from solid to liquid and take it back off. Do you think a reversible cement is in the I mean, that is a huge holy grail.
That is a huge holy grail, yeah. But actually, at least BEGO is right now not working on it. So
You're working on it.
Okay. So I think other companies are working on it. That might be it's very likely. But I don't know a company right now that is pretty much has around the corner.
And Amir, the same question to you, because, patients might not understand it, but again, we're taught in dental school form and function and occlusion, and you do all these things. And then when you present it to the patient, they always pick the pretty as a peacock gamete sharing solution. Look at amalgams. Amalgams last 38 years. Composites last 6 years. And they always want the composite. So what do you think will be bigger over the next 20 years? Because, again, with clear aligners, now that you have only 2 children in a family instead of 7 or 9, both kids get braces, and they seem to get braces about 3 times in their life. I've seen them getting it in grammar school, they'll get it in their 30s, and then when they get divorced in their 50s and are put back on the market, they go back and do touch-ups again. So what do you think will be bigger, implants or clear aligners?
I think they'll be equally important. And when we started 3D printing, the single application that was available 4 years ago was surgical guides. And 3D printing made implant placing a lot more easier. And a lot of other doctors adopted placing implants because with a surgical guide, it's a lot easier. You just put the guide and you don't need to do open up the flap. It becomes flapless. It's a drill and essentially put the implant in. I think that continued to grow, and we see a lot more doctors jumping on learning implants and becoming another piece of a very vital piece of their practices. 3D printing, in my opinion, made clear aligners also more accessible for the masses. I mean, Invisalign did a great job, but it was always the cost prohibitive solution for many people. And when producing aligners in-house became an option at a fraction of cost, it was very inspiring and resonated with a lot of doctors. And they have the choice. If the patients cannot afford the premium Invisalign solution, they make him their own. And in other cases, I've seen that a couple of doctors price their aligners more than and higher than Invisalign because they believe it's better than Invisalign, and they're producing it in-house with maximum control. So we see different things happening. I think at 5 years, 10 years from now, it'll be a combination of implants, aligners, restoratives. These 3 items will be big.
Say those 3 again.
Implants, aligners, and restorative 3D printing will be dominating this field. And every corner of the country, every dental practice will have 2 of these 3D printers. One of them is dedicated to restorative. The other one is to appliance-based dentistry. And we produce parts and dental night guards and bite splint and sleep apnea devices when the patient is sitting there. This is how I see it happening.
Amir, as I get older and older and older, instead of thinking more right or wrong, I see more trade-offs. I mean, there's advantages and disadvantages. Everything's binomial. Let's talk about open systems versus closed systems. You know, Apple is a closed system, iPhone, but Android's 85% of the market with an open system. We saw the Invisalign case where then when they bought iTero, they didn't want to share those files with from other intraoral scanners. And I see the trade-offs. When I look at the Dentsply, Sirona, CAD-CAM deal, when it's a closed system, it's easier to train your staff. I mean, if you go into an office that everything's bought by Dentsply, Sirona, at least they know how to do it. Then you go into other offices where they mix and match stuff off the shelf, but they're really not that high-tech nerd geek. And you ask them a question like, okay, will you print out that CBCT for me and put it on a CD-ROM? And it's like, deer looking you in the headlights. So I want to ask you, what do you think? I know that you use the universally accepted STL format for 3D. What are the trade-offs of open formats in your STL file format versus a closed system where everything's under one umbrella?
For SprintRay, I'm an engineer. I'm a fan of an open system because you have full control and you can geek around with it. So our solution is hybrid. This is what I call it, because as you said, it's a trade-off. If you keep it too open, the nerdy, geeky, tech-savvy doctors get it right, but the doctors who want to delegate to the staff and have the staff have an easier time with it, they'll be stuck. There's so many ways a print could go wrong. And if you keep it too close, essentially you get the versatility out of the way, then it becomes very restrictive and limited to what they can do. So I'm a fan of being somewhere in the middle, where our system is not too open, and the STL file, as you mentioned, we accept any STL, but we run our own analysis and we prevent printing if we find issues with it. And on the material side, we're not completely open. We call it selectively open, that we have to run our own analysis. With BEGO, Axel can chime in on that. It took us pretty much 6 months back and forth that we approve each other's solution to make sure it's good for the doctor, good for the dentist, and both companies' reputations are essentially intact. So that was something that happened. So on the material side, that's the avenue we're taking.
Well, Axel, remember when you're talking to Amir, he's a mechanical engineer, and God was a civil engineer. So you got to remember that. You know that, right, Amir? Did you learn that in school? Well, there's 3 types of engineers. If you plug it in, it takes electricity. It's an electrical engineer. If it moves like an engine or whatever, it's a mechanical engineer. But if it doesn't move and it doesn't take electricity, like a park or a building or a street, it's a civil engineer. And the 3 engineers were sitting at the table, and the electrical engineer said, well, God was an electrical engineer. I mean, look at all the brain, the nerves, the electricity. He had to be an electrical engineer. And the mechanical engineer said, well, no, I went to a ballet and I saw all the moving body parts. He was totally a mechanical engineer. And the civil engineer said, no, he was a civil engineer. Who else would have put a wastewater treatment through a recreational park?
Nice one.
The worst joke of the day. So, are you? Is the goal of you to put the dental technician out of business? Are you gonna put them in the Flintstones? Is this all gonna be? Are they gonna be the first ones replaced by high tech and AI, or is a certified dental laboratory technician gonna be an integral part of digital dentistry and the printing workflow, 3D printing workflow?
Howard, do you allow me to get just for a second back to open or closed systems?
Yes.
That would be good. Thank you. It is not only the question whether it's technically open or closed. Right now, we have a rising demand of so-called validated processes when it comes to medical device printing. So the FDA is requiring it at the moment, and we are not allowed to change anything in this process anymore when we just validated this process. And if there is a change, we have to go again and have to decide it's a significant change or not, and that will follow up with some other demands as well. So it is somehow semi-closed in terms of medical device printing because of the demands of the legislative. So we have it, the MDR in Europe, for example, is a bit stricter again as the FDA, but the FDA is pretty much on the same path. So it's not a question whether it's technically open or not. So it's not something you want to. It's a validated process. You have to validate it. So, and when it comes to dental technicians or not dental technicians and chairside printing, it's pretty much interesting because my strong belief is that the main purpose of a digital workflow is not to exclude anyone from those workflow. You always have to keep in mind that someone has to do the patient care as well, and someone has to do the design of the crown as well, and someone has to take care that everything is running smooth and that the patient is treated in the best way possible. And we strongly believe that the dental technician has a role in this workflow as well. For example, we created a workflow as well, starting in Europe right now, and it's called Chairside by Lab. And this is pretty much the support of a dental technician in the lab, helping the dentist to print chairside and stay within this 2 hours that I mentioned before. So
I love that.
I see the dental technician in there.
I love the fact that you put an upper limit on how long the poor patient has to sit there and wait for this. So let's start with the digital workflow. It's going to begin with an intraoral scanner. What intraoral scanner, so far, what is the adoption rate around the world where you see, like in America, Germany, the rest of the world? What % of dentists have already got an intraoral scanner, and which one do you think works best in the 3D printing digital workflow?
Amir, up to you.
Around 30% based on our numbers are the adoption of intraoral scanners. And we're currently marketing and talking to doctors who already have scanners because they made that decision that they want to be digital. And in terms of the solutions out there, I think they're all great solutions, and we prefer to work with the most open one because we can accept the STLs and processes and make them ready for 3D printing. It's better for the patients, but they're all good solutions out there.
Which is the one that you're talking about, the most open that you work with? Is that 3Shape?
3Shape, Medit, I think the two top one. CareStream, we had a very good integration, has been always open. Invisalign is Itero, which is AlignText. That's a little bit more difficult, but we're also talking to integrate our solution together so the doctors will be more happier. A big initiative in our company, Howard, was what we call a frictionless workflow. And what we learned was the 3D printing doesn't exist in vacuum. It has to interact with the right software, with the right scanner, with the right material. And being a dental company allowed us to allocate resources. And what we have created is a cloud portal that accepts scans from all over whatever you want, the intraoral scan directly or the hard drive. And we, in a very 24-hour turnaround, we prepare the models for printing, or we do the design. That was another piece of it, which was a problem for dental assistants or doctors to adopt. Who's going to do the design? So we streamlined that. And all the printers that sitting in my back are IoT enabled. That means directly from your phone, or from the internet browser, you can send the job to the printer. So it becomes a lot easier for dental assistants and the staff to use this. And this was possible because we were focused only on dentistry.
Now, when you say you're talking to Itero, which is owned by Align Tech, along with Invisalign, Joseph Hogan, he's been on the show. I mean, he would probably tell you right out of the gate. I mean, do you think he's open to working with you, or is it dead on arrival, or was there some specific thing that you could do to work together, or where is that at? Because it's kind of a big decision, because if a dentist is going to go, like say, there's only 2 markets that are growing double digit. If you're going to go, like if you're an orthodontist and you're just going to do a line, you're probably going to go Itero. Most of the orthodontists come on the show, they say that. But if you're going to go just blood and guts implants, you're going to go with 3Shape. And 3M left the market. So what was Joe's thoughts on this?
Well, I haven't spoken to Joe on that, but they've done integration before. And we're hopeful that we can get that done for our doctors. We have a lot of orthodontists on our platform, and it's just going to become a lot easier for them to export models and easier load it directly to the printer. We're optimistic.
Okay, well, the next show, we'll get Joe and you on here, and we'll just talk it out right there. Because it is a major investment, and but you said, but it's a lot cheaper. I mean, an intraoral scanner is so much less money than others. So talk about production methods of milling versus printing.
From what standpoint? From technology or capacity, throughput? Which one of them are you interested?
Well, you were talking earlier that the milling is a significantly higher investment.
Correct.
And the printing is substantially less expensive.
Technology-wise, one of them is subtractive, the other one is additive. So that by itself adds to the whole cost effectiveness of the solution. When we use enough material to make a crown versus we start with a big puck and you have to mill 95% of it to just get to a single crown. So I think that by itself adds to this accessibility and versatility. In terms of applications, as I mentioned, 3D printing is a lot more versatile. You can do a lot more. Doctors start with printing dental models, then they start printing night guards, then they learn about clear aligners and doing it in-house and in office, then they add that, and then later 3D printing of crown became a thing, and then everyone is printing. So it just keeps adding and adding. It's very future-proof. That's the second piece. The third piece is the whole, I think, ecosystem of creating the frictionless workflow versus the milling is only around crown, which again, 3D printing wins. They can coexist. I don't see us competing with milling directly or at any of that. We don't want to position it that way. I think they're both an essential equipment in a dental practice, and they all need it. So
address the speed. Axel was talking about with chairside milling, it should be an appointment of less than 2 hours. Is additive, who's faster, additive or subtractive chairside?
I think what we've seen right now is really when it comes to the overall process, it's additive, it's faster than what we see. We saw crowns that are printed within 22, 25 minutes. What is amazing in the meantime, and then with post processing and finishing, you might be something ending up to somewhere at 45 minutes for a crown, which is really what is amazing. Yeah. And this is the whole process. And then you have 1 hour 15 for preparation and inserting and all this kind of thing, and a coffee for the patient. So yeah, there's plenty of time for that.
I thought it was very, very neat that you actually sell a 3D printing solution. You have your own BEGO Varso 3D printers, but you're working with a SprintRay for the U.S. I think that's an amazing think outside the box solution. Amir, was it harder for you to wrap your mind around a partnership with someone who sells a competing product?
Not at all. If I go back and I would do it again, I would do a partnership with BEGO 3 years earlier, because it's all about the material that you provide to doctors to magnify their impact even better and more to their patients. And I think we can accelerate innovation a lot more by collaboration with material companies. So not at all. The market is big. We might be competing in some area, but together we're bringing innovative solutions.
That's right.
The denture process, that was a 5-week process for me and my patients for 3 decades. Do you think, you got surgical guides for implants, and I know dentists, they love to, you go to any dental meeting and the all-on-4 lecture has, all the dentists in there, and none of them have done one. And then they go back to their practice, and you look at America, I think Clear Choice did like 18,000 arches last year in America, in a country that has 320 million people. The all-on-none market is 100 times bigger. Dentists want to focus their whole life on all-in-4, but look at the stock markets. I mean, the Federal Reserve put out a deal yesterday that a third of Wall Street is owned by 1% of Americans. The next 9% is owned by another third. And the 50% of America doesn't even have a stock in Wall Street. So the all-on-none digital denture is very exciting for half of America that doesn't own a share of stock. Give us an update on your digital denture. I know that now you can make them in days, not weeks. How's that going, and how's the adoption rate of that?
Actually, we're working on 2 materials as well. So out of the family of the various Micron Plus for crowns, we're going to develop a material as well for teeth that can be printed. And of course, we're working on the base material as well. We see a growing market for that in the meantime. It went up. There are milled solutions as well that we see over there as well. Highly aesthetics, wonderful pieces, and wonderful works. But we see the printing markets are just getting up and rising. So we're working hard on that. I think Amir would agree that this is one of the markets for the future as well for us.
Yeah, certainly. And if I may add, Howard, we were very focused in the dental practitioners, and dentures hasn't picked up that fast and as much as the other appliances has picked up. I think the reason is there are a lot of lab work that still need to be done on the dentures. What we have seen that is becoming a very standard in dental practices is duplicating the dentures at this point. And patients come with a broken denture. What they do, they glue it together, they scan it, and they reprint it. It's like copying a denture. That has become actually a couple of stories, very touching stories that came. There was a grandmother was attending a wedding, and the denture broke, and came to one of our doctors where they duplicated the denture in pretty much 1.5 hours. So we see inspiring stories coming out of that denture. I think that duplicating, copying denture will become the first. The second one is innovation more with BEGO and bringing more material that are as good as the milled dentures that are currently being used in the digital world that we can offer to our doctors and patients.
Very, very nice. So when we're talking about the workflow, though, we talked about the intraoral scanners. The next would be the dental CAD software. What is the dental CAD software for the digital dentistry workflow that you that integrates with SprintRay and that you like the most?
There are good solutions. I think the top 2 dominant ones are ExoCAD, that is owned by Align now, and 3Shape. I think we have direct integration with both of them. We got Blue Sky Bio, another third solution that is on the surgical guide. Early on, we had a lot of partnership with them. I think these top 3 dental design software you can't go wrong with any of them. They're all good.
And
I think so as well. Yeah.
So ExoCAD, that's German too, correct?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And
right. Yeah.
So you're in Germany. Tell us about ExoCAD.
Yeah, it's a great company. It's a great success story as well. So I know Tilman Steinbrecher, who's the owner and pretty much the founder of the company. I don't know for a pretty long time. I hate to talk about people that are not present, so I'm going to be careful about it. But they pretty much done everything right. So I'm really happy about it. They're different to other suppliers of CAD software, because it's really an open system, and they concentrate really on software. They do not offer, for example, a software scanner combination, but they are just about the workflow and concentrating on their software. And that's the secret behind their success. Actually, it's an open version, and they are doing a great job. So this is pretty much it. It's a bit different to 3Shape. I know 3Shape since 2008. At that time, they were something like, I think, 45 to 50 people. And right now it's 1,200. So, hey, wonderful
Great
development
growth,
over the years. Wow, great. But a bit different business model than Exocad, but nonetheless successful, of course. Yeah. But I think these are the two dominant players in the market. So there's some other companies as well, but if you go 95% are really those two companies.
Well, that CEO, he's got some good hair. So that's my gosh, Tillman Steinbrecher. He looks like he's could have been a GQ model. So that's a big plus if you're a woman dentist out there and you just want to buy from a really hot guy. And then you got 3Shape and Blue Sky Bio. So what do you see are the limits, or what's holding dentists back from adopting it faster? I mean, you say there's a 30% intraoral scanner adoption rate. It's already shown that this is here to stay. It's coming out of the gates like a very fast racehorse. What could you say today to make dentists really rethink this and adopt it faster? I mean, you got 70% of the market still looking at it, an intraoral scanner. What's holding them back?
I think it's a price point is one of the most important things right now, because you still have something like you have affordable models on the market as well, but you generally have to pay something or invest money like 30,000 plus, and this is just it's an investment that you need to talk about, and needs to bring a real benefit to the table. And this is one of the points that may be lacking is the one or the other model.
And do you think the pandemic, I mean, when we look back at the 2020, which that year was dead on arrival, and some people are even suggesting that, that the next economic contraction coming, that some people think the entire decade of 2020 to 2030 is dead on arrival. But do you see investments in adding operatories, CBCTs, equipment purchases? Obviously, it was down in 2020, but is it coming more to life in 2021?
It's starting a bit. Yeah, that's pretty much the right word for it. We see a growing demand as well, again, but around the globe. So it's pretty much it feels like the recovery from the pandemic already, although we're not done with that. But it's starting to get up again. That's what we can say, at least.
Well, what I really loved is when dentists were down for 2 months, there were two types of dentists. One just went and got a barrel of beer and a bunch of Netflix movies and just drank and watched movies for 2 months. And other people, like, my gosh, they decided they were going to dig deep into their office. And so many people use that 2-month sabbatical to really get their office up faster. Dan Holtzclaw, a board-certified periodontist in Texas, he used that 2 months to write a book on pterygoid dental implants. I mean, so I see how a lot of people are using the slower demand from a pandemic to spend more time working on the operations and logistics of their dental office instead of just whining and pouting and all that stuff. So you got to be proactive, man. When the shit hits the fan, the leaders rise to the occasion, and too many people jump behind the just check out. So what do you see, Amir? Do you see dentists taking more time to invest in their practice and learn something new, put a new product on their shelf, as LD Pinky used to say?
It was exactly what you said. At the beginning, everyone was scared what's going to happen. But what we noticed is exactly dentists found more time to learn. And we had doctors, now I have sabbatical, it's a good way of saying it. Let me learn. And we sold units during that 2 months with the doctors who picked it up. And besides that free time, I think pandemic taught them, or at least showed everyone, that the power of controlling your own processes, and with 3D printing, you're in control of how a night guard is made or other appliances. The second one, driving costs down. And I think that was another motivation besides time, that, okay, now I have the time and I need to decrease my operating costs, bring it down, and 3D printing can help me. So that's from our experience, those two things gave a lot of motivation to our doctors to do that.
And I liked, we'll switch from Dental Town to Ortho Town, but I love Dr. Baron Gutter's talkings about in-office clear aligners. Who would you say are your top dental product champions in America that are really doing this exceptional, and I should talk to? And who do you think could be, for orthodontics? I think of Baron Grutter.
Yes, Dr. Baron Grutter. We started as a 3D printing company, not a dental 3D printing. So when it came to clinical knowledge, we had a very humble approach to it, and we relied on experts like Baron, Dr. August Oliveira, Dr. Ruz Khosravi, an orthodontist in Seattle, Dr. Stephen Shao. These are, I think, the top 4 ones who helped us fine-tune our offering to the dentistry. And absolutely, Baron Grutter, very visionary, very modern in his approach. So absolutely.
Yeah, he is he's a phenomenal educator and teacher and all that stuff. Well, I can't believe that was the fastest hour of my life. I don't ever remember an hour that flew by that fast, but I got these 2 incredible dental titans on the show, and I mean, they see macroeconomically so far. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about? Any other insights to these dentists that have just survived 2020, and now I see the optimism, and I'll tell you how I can measure the optimism. When the pandemic hit and the offices were closed down and we went to Dental Town, hell, I can tell you exactly. There were, how many there were on regarding COVID-19. There were 1,958 different threads started, almost 2,000 threads discussing COVID-19. And I'm so excited because it's almost like they forgot about it, and now it's all clinical dentistry again. And I always have known since I started this from 1999 to 2021 that when they're talking about all things clinical dentistry, they're happy in a good mood. And when they're talking about practice management and money and all that stuff, if there's a recession, a contraction, a pandemic, and they're not very happy. I think because 10% of Americans are already vaccinated, I mean, Dental Town, it's all back to clinical. So they're in a good mood. Your dentists are now, they're happy. They're no longer cranky. What advice would you give them?
Well, just stay ahead of all the developments, and keep a keen eye on printing and how to serve the patients, and be ready to go to the shows when they are open again. So when it comes to Chicago midwinter next year, hope to see you all over there.
And do you think, when do you think that's going to be back?
I think, well, the IDS is really starting this year, actually. So it was already was dated for, scheduled for March, and of course it's postponed, but now it's September, and it will take place, and we will be there, of course, because it's a German company. But nevertheless, we will be in Chicago as well next year. And I'm pretty sure that Chicago Midwinter meeting has a good chance to happen next year. And we're going to be there.
So IDS is going to have a meeting, a real meeting this fall? What is the date on that?
In September, it is, I don't know the exact date right now. I think it's around mid of September. And yeah.
Well, I just want to tell, I want to tell my homies about that meeting. That meeting is held in Cologne, Germany, which was the farthest outreach post of the Roman Empire 2,000 years ago. The city still has a Roman wall around it, and it's just the most gorgeous, beautiful city in the world. You still get all the benefits of all the German food, but you still got all the Italian influence. But a couple things you got to do. Go there. There's 100,000 dentists there from every country on earth. I could give you the names of a dozen millionaires who went there and saw this great dental product that was made in South Korea, and somebody will buy the U.S. Rights to it for $1 and just come back and make bank on that. I remember one time I saw Dan Fisher at a booth, and he was trying to buy an entire company. He was so excited about something. It's just amazing. But the town, they all know that you're some idiot from another country that doesn't know where to go and you don't speak German. And everywhere you go, from 10-year-old kids to 80-year-old ladies, are trying to help you buy a train ticket. They're trying to help you navigate. I mean, it's just the greatest vacation in the world. And it's the only thing bad about it is it's so damn cool that it's hard to go to the convention. And the other thing I want to tell you is this is an influence for me. I'll wrap this up with this. Is when I started Dental Town magazine, I used to always feature a company on the cover. And that comes back to when I was little, my dad only had 2 vacation minds. He always wanted to go to the Six Flags, amusement parks, roller coasters, Disneyland. And then on the way to Disneyland or Disney World or Six Flags over Texas or whatever, anybody that manufactured something that gave tours, we would stop. So we went and saw cars made in Detroit, beer made. When I was at Coors Beer in Colorado, Adolf Coors used to make his own bottles, and he had a dental ceramic. Did you know that? Coors Beer, Adolf, he had a dental ceramic because he's making all these glass bottles, and one of his scientists said, well, we ought to make a dental porcelain, and he did, and he sold it, but, business, you got to stick to your one thing, but when I went to Cologne, I went over and saw Ivoclar and Liechtenstein and Cavo and Kerr and Dentsply Sirona and Austria, and when you walk through a company, I mean, you will never, I use Impergum forever. When you actually see it's made, when you meet the people making it, when they tell you what they think about it, it's that hands-on, show, touch, feel. And Dental Town has done that over the years, where we have townie visits where a company will bring in 5 or 6 of the biggest influencers on the Dental Town message boards. And it's just a game changer. But we had to stop doing it because when there was a company on the cover, the dentist would say, it's paid advertising. And they just say, well, they paid for that, or it's money or whatever. And my gosh, if I took away 500 dental companies, I would be sitting outside on a rug pulling teeth with pliers and hammers and chisels. The only reason we look so damn good is from companies like SprintRay and BEGO that sit there. I mean, you're a 130-year-old company, and now you're in dental kindergarten school, and you're going to walk out of school, barely know what's going on, and you got a 130-year-old company making you look like Albert Einstein, Galileo, Sir Isaac Newton's little sister, and you should have a very healthy view and relationship with the entire value chain. Dentists need to stop thinking, well, dentists are good, insurance companies bad, manufacturers are bad because they advertise, well, that costs money. I'm like, well, what are you, a volunteer dentist? You're not a volunteer. You charge $1,000 for these crowns. So should I start calling you Dr. For Sale Dentistry? Everybody in dentistry is on the top line, and it's divided by the patient on the bottom line. So dental manufacturers and dentists, they need to quit. They need to trust each other. And you see that the most at the IDS meeting. When you go to the IDS meeting, there's no lectures. Why? Because the Germans want to meet and talk to the guy that owns the damn company and his scientists, and Americans are like, well, I'm not going to trust that guy. He sells stuff for money. He's an evil prostitute whore. I'm going to go to a lecture where some middleman is up there feigning expertise, telling you what he thinks of a product. He doesn't know his ass from second base. And I know this because I have hundreds of CE courses on Dental Town, all these lectures, and I'll show them a clip. Well, this speaker said this. And they'll just go to the grease board, pull out a pen, and do enough organic chemistry to make your mind melt, or Amir would do it with geometry. I'm sure, I'm surprised he didn't name his dog Pythagoras. And when they're done explaining, you realize that guy up there lecturing didn't know his ass from second base. And the Germans get it because they make Mercedes-Benz. Americans, we make Chrysler and, and these other Pintos and all these other things. And when you go to the countries, Germany and Japan come to mind the most. I mean, those two countries make the most excellent products. Those dentists over there, they don't want to sit in a lecture of some middleman feigning expertise. They want to go talk to the top dog. And you go to the IDS meeting, and the CEO of every one of those dental companies is in there. The German dentists want to go right to that guy and get the straight answer. And then here's the Americans, who are not known for quality at all. I mean, America's known for money's the answer, what's the question, sales, money. And the Germans and the Japanese are into total quality. And I think if you really want to serve your patients best, you need to have a relationship with dental manufacturing companies. When you're on vacation, now I'm sure Amir's not going to be pleased when I say this, but if you're going to Disneyland in Los Angeles, why wouldn't you stop by SprintRay? That's right there. And everything you're hearing at a course by another dentist, if you were actually in that building and talk to the people that work there, it's their whole life, it's their mojo, it's their everything, you would learn so much more information faster. So remember, your only job as a dental industry, if you're working in dentistry, dentistry only starts when a human goes to the dentist and pulls out a coin and says, can you fix this tooth? And you got to fix it faster, easier, higher quality, lower cost, and smaller. And if everybody would just focus on the patient, you got one eye on the patient and one eye on cost, because when we drive down costs and increase quality, we give more humans the ability and the freedom to keep their teeth. And that's what dentistry is all about, starting with Pierre Fichard to today. Gentlemen, I can't believe that I could get the two heavyweight champions of dentistry to give an hour of their life to me. I'm sure by this point you're already heavily regretting it. But thank you so much for coming on the show, and thank you for all that you do for our patients.
Howard, thank you very much for being here, for having us. Thank you.
Thank you, Howard, and all the folks at Dental Town for providing, and all this stuff you do for the community, Howard. Thank you.
Well,
wonderful.
Man, thank you. And it's I love to see the youth. When I go into dental schools, I'm most humbled by the fact of what our profession is attracting. I mean, those kids are smarter than my class. They're better looking. They're better ethics. We attract the cream of the crop. Sometimes I go into a dental school and I'm embarrassed. I'm like, God, if you would have seen my classmates out there drinking at 1 o'clock in the morning. Dentistry, medicine, they just attract the best people. So hope you have a great day. And I hope that this pandemic is over by the end of the year.
Hope the same. Thank you so
All
much.
right. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.